Hello. It's wonderful to be here. I'm really excited for the run, Utsu. You're going to do great. I believe in you.
Leo meets Shadow of the Colossus. You play as a Void Runner, who they're basically people who have technology to go into black holes, and the entirety of this game takes place in a black hole, which is pretty cool. So, what else do I want to say? Where I'm ready to start time. Time will start on first input, so I'll give a countdown for that. Yeah, we are here in this black hole because this black hole is getting close to our planet, and we need to stop it. This is Ray, our character.
Another one.
That's Echo. Don't worry about what Echo is. Echo is big. That's all we need to know about Echo. But yeah, so I'm gonna call time to start, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Covert.
Great. Sounds good. Good luck.
Ray's just gotta stand up first. She limps to get back up, and then suddenly can move perfectly fine. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go.
All right, so right out of the gate, we have our first piece of tech, which is known as a triple jump. So pretty much we have a few mechanics here. We can dash, we can jump, and we can skate. So skating causes us to become a little slippery, but build more speed. But here, if we end up dashing and then jumping out before the dash animation finishes, we're actually allowed to jump an additional time. This allows us to build a bunch of height, as you saw here, to do the first major sequence break within the run itself, to get out of bounds and skip a very large cutscene. Then the sort of shtick with this game is that there's a lot of really unique gravity mechanics. So the biomes have all of these different polygon gravity fields, and we're going to be using that to great effect to sequence break all over the place. But here we have now entered Crater, which is kind of the central system, and here in the black goop, we are able to climb this, but after a short period of time, it will end up causing us to instantly die, sending us back to a checkpoint. But there, as we end up stabbing this little eye goop, this is going to explain the major sort of layout of every single level. Pretty much, there's a certain number of eye goops. There's going to be 3 in Crater that we need to end up pierce. And after we do so, this will end up spawning a Shadow of the Colossus-esque boss that we end up need to be taken down, known as an anomaly. But here, because Utsu did that major sequence break right at the start of the run, we actually end up having to quit to menu. If we don't do this, it actually ends up soft locking the game after we pierce the 3rd eye goop. You'll notice that Utsu is constantly sort of jumping out of each of these dashes, and that's because you want to sort of stay in the air in order to prolong the movement speed that you end up getting from dash. It doesn't actually build us any additional speed, but it just ensures that we are able to maintain our velocity as we go through. Then, using grapple, which is another bind, as well as time slip, we're able to sort of hone in to the certain types of pylons, which I will point out at a little bit later of a time. But yeah, there we go. There's the 2nd eye goop, and now we are going to be coming up to the 3rd one.
2 down. There must be one more.
So as we're going through, especially in this area, you'll notice that there are different terrain types. There's this black sludge we're climbing up as we start this next sort of pylon timed event. And then there's going to be sort of normal colored ground, like the bleach white substances, as well as the brown earthy tones and different colors that we'll see throughout. But this light blue goop, it's really important to point out that when we dash and jump off of the blue eye goop, it actually ends up building us more speed than normal types of terrain. So this is going to be a really common thing as we progress through. But in order to build optimal speed, we are going to want to try and stay on the blue goop for as long as possible. But here, coming up to the boss, we are going to use Time Slip as well as Grapple. Time Slip in this game, actually, what it does is it slows down time for a set duration. But there's also a secondary effect, which is it actually increases the distance that we can end up grappling to be able to close distances. So Time Slip does have a set cooldown, so we're going to want to space these out in order to close the distance to these pylons as much and as far as possible.
It's getting weaker.
Here, a little bit of RNG with this boss is that it'll sort of appear at certain set distances, and this was a little bit further than normal. But in the bosses, you'll notice that we are still whacking pylons, and we have a certain amount of time, which is shown by this thin bar at the bottom. We play on easy difficulty for the speedrun, not because it makes the run any faster, but rather it just sort of gives us a little bit more leeway with the timing windows. But I just want to let Twitch chat know, if you do have any sort of photosensitivity, I am going to warn you that after we end up hitting the boss in the head, there's going to be a bright flashing lights. So if you are sensitive to photo stuff, I would just be very careful and at the end of each of these boss phases. But here now, coming up, you'll notice that the boss's skin color is red. If Ray ends up touching that, we'll end up having to start that phase over. And here is the final whack, and we have now cleared out our first anomaly. GG.
This is the cutscene where we learn that they're actually called remnants. You know, if we listen to the dialogue.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in the name of speed, we just end up mashing all the way through to clear out the cutscenes. But yeah, a really cool visual effect here. Up there is the Cradle of Life? Is that right? I'm blanking on the name.
That is the Star Seed. It is a...
Star Seed, thank you.
It is a gigantic machine that the Void Runners basically brought in with them to... and it's supposed to like be able to close black holes and stuff. It can also, because fun science fact, you can gravity actually affects time. So the higher the gravity or the faster you're moving, the slower time moves.
Yes.
So not only can it close black holes, but it can also use the intense gravity to alter space and time.
Awesome. Okay, so upcoming here, we're going to be heading to the second biome, which is probably one of the more difficult and more technical biomes, which is Capital. But here, instead of going through the door, we're actually going to do a major sequence break. So doing a nice triple jump out of the dash is going to allow us to get height to be able to get over here. And nicely done, climbs up there. And now we are going to use the weird gravity fields to be able to walk up the side of this mountain. This is just all labbed out by the community. Like, this game has only been out for 2 months, but using this gravity fields, we're able to build a bunch of speed with Ray and make it skipping like a number of like small little cutscenes, as well as having to go through the door itself. So that is a very, very nice optimization. But here, nicely done, gets underneath, gets the time slip to be able to go up, and we are going to be making fast work of this first eye goop. So for restricted as the category, which is kind of the constraint that we're running any true ending, excuse me, with here tonight or this morning or time zone, wherever you are in the world.
Don't worry about it. We're in a black hole. Time's fake.
Trouche. Pretty much in restricted itself, it doesn't necessarily ban things like going out of bounds and stuff like that. It just bans 2 forms of major tech that we have so far that we found like day one pretty much, which one of them is using wrong warps, using shield boxes, as well as using something known as an FMBL or a hyper launch, which is more commonly known. So there, Utsu just went for a bit of a dialogue skip, is going to give it a second try because it didn't quite get far enough in order to be able to get through. Nice, and goes through the wall. Yeah, so here, as you can see, in restricted, you're still allowed to go out of bounds, right? Clearly, you're probably not supposed to be in a wall. I don't know. I mean, we're close to a black hole, so maybe that warps physical space as well. We don't know because we haven't been into a black hole yet, but that being said, here is going to come the next major form of tech in the run, which is known as a rail slip. So using time slip and then mashing the skate key onto the rails and then going out of it, like we don't even need to jump out. It's going to allow us to build a massive amount of speed. And then here's the second one, nicely done, getting the height to be able to get up to the broken clock tower, which is kind of the most tedious anomaly heart eye goop thing in Capital itself. So already off to a very fast pace, nailing a very difficult trick. Nicely done, Utsu.
Thank you. I actually messed it up a little bit. You can actually get all the way up there.
Yeah, that one's hard. I never get that one either.
That one's really hard. There's so basically all the gravity is like in bubbles in this game, and if you just hit the gravity bubble in a way that doesn't work out in your favor, then you're just kind of like, okay.
Yep. And so that's a really funny instance of like gravity where double jumping just gets you this massive amount of height. Whoa, nice save.
I have no idea what happened there.
Yeah, so the enemies can just get in our way, and so Utsu just ended up bonking into a little flying enemy, but nice improvisation just grabbing onto the eye goop in order to not fall all the way down. It's very, very good. So like a lot of these areas in Capital is that it can be tricky because if you fall all the way down, we do have various ways to get height, but this is just routed in order to try and stay on top of the buildings for as long as possible. And nicely done. Yes, using another time slip right as it comes off cooldown to be able to grapple up. And then another rail slide here, going to try and go to the right. Oh, that was very close to continuing your momentum. But yeah, so if we end up falling into this black goop here, we actually end up losing all of our momentum and the ability to skate. But there is bunny hopping in this game. So if we're able to land on normal ground or the blue sort of foggy cloud material down below, then we are able to maintain that speed. And so using rail slips to build a bunch of speed and then maintaining that by jumping over and over again is going to be a common theme in terms of chaining tech to be able to go fast and save time.
Something I'd like to state while we have a moment. I'm about to do the non-time slip version of a rail slip, which we refer to as a party, because when I found it, I made a clip of it and I called it "Ray Likes to Party." Because she's got her arms up in the air, and oh, what the heck? And she's got her arms up in the air, and she looks like she's having a great time.
Excellent. So here we're into the next anomaly, which is going to be the Forgotten Thresher. This one is going to have sort of like quick time events where it's actually going to force us into a time slip. So our goal here is going to be trying to just use time slip to close distance, as you saw there. And if you're looking for the time slip cooldown, it's going to be a little yellow circle that appears in the top left of the screen. So there, entering the second phase of Forgotten Thresher, it is going to do various things like flip itself over.
But I'm tougher.
Yep. And so there is an instance where it flips itself over, and then using time slip to close the distance there using grapple. And here is going to be one of those events, I believe, where it flips the boss over and then forces you into the time slip. But yeah, so as we're going through here, just a quick reminder is basically each one of these is a timed event. So we have a specific amount of time to reach the next pylon and attack it. If we don't do that, then the boss will end up just insta-killing you, causing you to have to restart the phase. And now that we're on the third and final phase of the second boss, it is going to be important that we don't touch anything red. So if we touch any of the red skin, that will just end up causing Ray to die instantaneously. But once again, photosensitivity warning as we end up going to the end of this boss. We still have a little bit to go, but if you are sensitive to flashing lights, just maybe look away in a little bit. Okay, so next, just one more grapple. These platforms can be deceptively easy to accidentally fall off, especially because we are maintaining our speed by bunny hopping as well as continually moving with dash triple jumps. So it's very easy to accidentally like overshoot those platforms, for instance, and end up taking a death. But Utsu just masterfully going through these bosses, making it look very easy.
Then enjoy your freedom.
Great, and that's capital. Great job, Utsu.
That was capital. That is probably my weakest level entirely.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying level.
All right, should I do the cutscene skip or no cutscene skip?
It's up to you. It's up to you.
I'm going to not.
It's not a PB. Okay,
I'm going
great.
to not because it's actually quote unquote optimal to not do it. But also,
yeah.
I don't know the like actually faster version.
Yeah.
And I like the next boss's cutscene when he shows up.
Yeah. So, really interesting note is that whenever we do some major sort of cutscene skip with the introductory of the bosses, they can end up soft locking themselves. So you have to quit the menu in order to restart it. So upcoming here, we're actually going to see the first eye door be opened, which we skipped the one going into Capital, right? Because we ended up climbing the mountain, Captain Kirk, and just going up and around the door. But here, this is what you're supposed to do to enter each new biome. One of these doors becomes active. So you watch that cutscene, and then you sort of watch an introductory cutscene of like, hey, this is a giant anomaly that's just kind of chilling and walking around, right? We have a way to get around this cutscene, and it is faster to do so, but only if you nail this incredibly difficult tree slide, because we can't actually like run on certain surfaces, but we can slide on them, and then using a camera manipulation clip in order to fall in the gravity bubble at a little bit of a faster rate. So for RTA viability currently, it is faster to actually just watch these cutscenes. Because if you go around, the boss ends up soft locking when you do the last eye goop, similar to how it was in Crater. Okay, but here is one of the hardest skips. Going to be climbing up here, jumping on top of this archway, and nailing the triple jump to be able to get up to the black goop. Nicely done. That is a lot more difficult than it looks, but it's not over yet. We still have to do another triple jump. Oh no, just accidentally getting a double jump there, but that's okay. The backup is just to end up hitting that to be able to despawn some damaging enemies, and we get to go for the triple jump again. Nice, second try. Then the last checkpoint, we actually don't have saves in this game, but we do have checkpoints. So there we ended up activating that checkpoint there, and we're going to be leading in. And that is important because we end up falling down for something that is very easy to do in this level, as or dying from taking damage. We would have had to do both of those very difficult sequence breaks again.
Yeah, usually to get into this building, there's like 3 buttons you have to push all around the map to open up that front door over there.
Oh yeah, that too.
Also, I don't think I got a double jump. I think what happened was I just got like no speed from my dash for some reason.
Okay. Oh, good. So here's another really cool little triple jump, just being able to get up there. And then here, an important piece of tech to explain is that, yeah, nice. Actually dashing in the black goops and then jumping out of it allows us to build a decent amount of speed. It's not quite as much as like dashing on the ground, for instance, but it is a very significant way to be able to build speed as well as height. Almost more importantly, height for the black goop. And I believe there are going to be another, maybe 1 or 2 of those coming up later on in the run. But yeah, so now we are continuing on, coming through Basin. And so Basin really came down to this various bunny hop chains here. Using a slow boost off of the ramp actually ends up converting some of our speed into more horizontal direction. And nice. Oh, okay. Ended up getting shot by an enemy. So Heart Machine, their first game was Hyper Light Drifter, and then here Solar Ash being their next major title. And Heart Machine is really good at programming AI of enemies to end up using leading shots. So if we don't move in slightly slower, cautious ways, it's very easy to end up getting shot and just have an enemy lead as to where you want to go. But here's a really, really cool sequence break coming on here. And then standing on this slippery tree, we're able to do a triple jump in order to jump over. And then one more to be able to land on a small platform in order to get over this building in order to get to the next pylon in a little bit of a shorter distance fashion. Very nicely done.
So this is Sentry, and he's a wiggly boy. This is the last Sentry. He's a wiggly boy. He shows up. He's real happy to see you. He's just like, oh, hello, it's me.
Hey, I like to party too.
Yeah, basically. Also, the best part about this boss, you know, being so cute and stuff, we all hate him. Every single one of us hates him.
I mean, he's a good boy. There's a bit of RNG surrounding this boss. Basically, in each of its phases, it's going to walk to another section of the map, and then depending on how far away from the boss can randomly decide to do one, if not more, volleys at you by shooting through its mouth at Ray. So if that ends up happening, Ray can end up getting shot multiple times. And then after the boss decides to stop attacking, that's when we are able to start the next phase of pylons.
Yeah, so it's just
so
like
here,
hoping that they don't attack. They one attack when you're done with the fight, because yeah, it looks like he's just gonna decide he's gonna go on.
he's still turning to move, I believe. He's moving pretty slow.
Yeah, he wants to go over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the thing. So you're just kind of sitting here and you're like, I'd really like to be fighting you right now, and he's just like, no, I'm going over here. Party's over here now.
Yep. Yeah, and we're intentionally actually being a little bit further away to risk that RNG as well. Like if you stand directly underneath him, he'll always only do one volley. But if we're actually a little bit higher, it allows us to use a time slip and a grapple. There we are doing it from the ground on this one because being a wiggly boy decided to take his extra time to be able to go over to the next part. But we are quickly underway in phase 2. So here, once again, just timed events. We have a certain amount of time to close out a certain number of pylons. And then each time you'll notice in the bottom center, the bar of like white and black ends up resetting. Ooh! So there we got a fall, but we can actually, yes, just barely time slip and grapple in order to save that. Nice recovery, Utsu. That was amazing.
If this was third phase, that would have been very sad.
Yeah. So now on third phase, we can't touch any of the red skin itself. If we do, we'll end up having to do that entire phase over again. But also, the boss will get another RNG phase of like firing his laser cannons at your face. So it is incredibly scary.
You actually kind of cooperated for this one. Sentry,
yeah, that was nice.
Sentry, you get a B- for this. Oh god. Okay, so also, since, you know, skin bad, touch it, he brings like his tentacles down once he's done shooting. He can just smack you on his way down, just like as a...
Oh no. High five. We're partying.
High five. You're welcome.
Yeah.
We're friends. I gotta do one more lap around him here.
Yeah. Photosensitivity warning coming up here.
As always, it's a big fan of this effect.
Beautiful. Our machine games are just so crisp.
So, if you want to kind of lead him into the garden intro, Skip.
Yeah, we'll probably talk a bit more about that as we get a bit closer, but really, this game has been out for 2 months, and the speedrun community has been absolutely incredible. Like, major shout-outs to so many people within the community that have been just searching for sequence breaks and such like that, and a lot of the joy cannot be mentioned enough, just how awesome it is playing around with the gravity mechanics. So, if you're interested in 3D platforms especially, and you want to be sort of on the precipice of a new speed game that is being optimized and glitch found out of its mind right now, definitely consider trying out picking up Solar Ash. Everybody's just been super friendly and awesome to work with. So coming up into this next area, which is going to be Garden, something we haven't mentioned is that we actually end up losing one of our maximum health every single time. We can repair that using these pink resources that we've been collecting throughout the run so far, but we're going to opt to not do that, right? Because collecting resources and more importantly, purchasing that armor upgrade ends up losing us time. We will be collecting some in a little bit of a future date in order to get some additional safety. But to just go over the tech again, using a rail slip, especially when we use time slip to be able to slow down time and then repeatedly skating onto the rail, is going to allow us to build a bunch of speed. So upcoming here, Utsu's setting up in a really specific spot, and then rail slipping, and then jumping here is going to basically catapult us into another gravity field. And yep, I think this is good. Then using the camera angle, this is super important in order to try and fall with the gravity bubble in the forward direction as far as we're supposed to go. And that just allows us to sequence break and skip opening the eye door, as well as the boss introductory cutscene, which has like a switch puzzle with the unique mechanic within this area known as Garden, which we will be seeing momentarily. Yeah, so here hitting this yellow fungal thing ends up opening the door, and we have a certain amount of time to be able to do that. But here, activating this teleporter is actually going to allow us to fast travel, and we are just going to do so immediately in order to skip some dialogue, I believe.
Yeah. Warping after activating Sid. By the way, that's Sid. Sid is our CYD. Sid is our AI companion, and they are just a delight. I'm so sad that we have to skip their dialogue, but they are just so charming. I love their character.
Yeah, Sid is absolutely my favorite character in the game, hands down. Absolutely.
Also, one of the first characters I've ever seen that uses plural pronouns.
Oh, wow. Okay. So upcoming here, we can use goop dashes here in order to speed through, but just making sure to end up clearing out those enemies so that they don't end up getting in the way. Nicely done.
So this is Withered Eye. He's a big ball.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. This is actually my favorite boss in the game that we're gonna see. He's just kind of hanging out on his own little moon there.
I called him Mike Wazowski in my casual playthrough.
Excellent. So here, this is just showing off like the gravity mechanics, right? It's just going to flip immediately, but staying close to the wall before the gravity flips allows us to actually close a major amount of distance to get through. Next, coming through here, we're going to see Utsu end up doing a goop dash, nicely done in order to get a major amount of height.
Usually what you have to do there is you have to go up to the top of that tower, and then there's a yellow spore that you have to use to extend a big yellow rail that you then grind around the place. But it's easier just to go around and then whack it from afar. Ray has really big swing hitbox, except when she doesn't.
Yeah. Except when she doesn't, when she decides not to. Yeah.
Why were you here?
So here, just using the warp mechanic to back travel to this area, we're going to end up heading into this spot. So here you'll notice that there are those different colored pylons. The yellow one, which we are activating here, we can just carry in and activate each of the yellow ones. But here, just using a very nice, precise triple jump, we're able to jump up that staircase. Nicely done. That's a lot tighter than Utsu made it look. It's a very difficult one. Then here, we can conveniently grab another eye goop. Actually grappling instead of walking onto the eye goop. That can just happen. That just happens.
I feel trolled.
Yeah. And then here, the blue color for the activator to open doors is over here as well, that we are going to utilize twice for heading down into one of the cooler parts of the level, which is kind of this darkened atmosphere where it's kind of difficult to see. But using the blue and the yellow to open that door is going to allow us to grab the red here. And then if Utsu is able to move fast enough, we're going to skip having to open a second door. And we are able to just turn in this color. And it looks good. It looks like you're on cycle. Nicely done. Oh. Oh, okay. I think it's, the blue one, maybe? Yeah. Okay,
I forgot the blue one. I just jumped right down after the eye.
That's all good.
I made a boo-boo. I also was confused for a second. I was like, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, nicely done. Okay, yeah, so this was the setup I ended up finding where you can just end up double jumping there to be able to land onto that blue pylon immediately. I think you missed yellow. No, yeah, yellow's up there, right. So using yellow here is going to end up extending this rail line, which is going to allow us to be able to sort of sequence break this area a little bit. Then using grapple, we're able to grab that one, and we have a certain amount of time, but it can be very difficult to get off this black goop. Nicely done, nice jump. And that is going to skip us for having to use the rail line a second time, using time slip and grapple to be able to close that distance up. It's really interesting because the distances you can actually close using time slip is a little bit different. That one in particular, you have to be a lot closer to that eye to be able to grapple up to it than, say, like other ones that could be on bosses and the like. Like in Crater, that starting area, you can close like half, like a third of the level just by using a time slip. But that one, you have to be like right on it to be able to do it. Like here is going to be blue. This is one of the tightest triple jumps in the run itself. There, triple jumping off the top and with an attack allows us to just barely be able to close the distance and make it up to open that door to the final eye goop, which is an incredibly difficult jump. I cannot believe you got that first try in a marathon setting. Nicely done.
I honestly thought I wasn't going to get it. Like,
yeah,
I was like, oh no, I jumped too early.
Yeah, it can't be like stressed enough that really jumping at precise times to be able to start these things, as well as to maximize your jump by doing very particular jumping timings with the triple jump is incredibly important. Because so the closer your initial jump out of the triple dash is, the more height you can actually end up getting out of a triple dash. So it's one, an incredibly tight timing press, but then also like when you start your first jump is incredibly important. Like here's Withered Eye, it's going to basically slam its hand down on the ground, and then we're able to get up to it. And this is kind of probably one of the more visually stunning bosses in my experience in the casual playthrough, just because it's on this very small sphere for its level itself. So you really are sort of traveling in a very dynamic circular pattern instead of just kind of going back and forth. As you can see, it's kind of hanging out on its own little moon rock.
I sometimes call him the beetle because he makes me think of a beetle on a light bulb.
That's actually really smart. I did not think of that. I can totally see that.
I don't know why specifically a beetle.
I can kind of see, you know, like the shell plating and stuff like that. It's kind of shaped a bit like a beetle.
He's more lobster shaped if you really look at him.
Yeah, touche. But yeah, so coming through Withered Eye, this is the second phase, and then the third phase, it has the most number of pylons. And so Utsu is going to have to sort of travel all the way around the boss, hitting each of the feet. So really kind of trying to reduce the distance by skating as close to the inside as possible. And oh, this could be a little bit of a tricky spot, but it should be okay. Okay, there, nice. Not getting hit by that hand is important, as you might imagine. And then jumping through here on the foot, and then has to cross the distance to the other side of the boss ASAP. Nicely done. All right, 2 more feet. And then we're going to go on top of the boss. And the boss is lava, right? We don't want to touch any of these red things. And it can be very, very easy to actually end up hitting one of these tendrils, for instance, as we're going to the back of the boss. Then, once again, photosensitivity warning. It's going to be flashing lights in a sec. So we come into the final phase. One more big jump across. And there we go. Great, well done. That was Withered Eye and Garden.
Withered Eye is probably one of the only bosses that the last phase actually scares me.
Yeah, because of the tendrils and stuff accidentally hitting you as you're trying to skate.
The tendrils, and he's an even weaklier boy than Sentry. Like,
that's saying
sometimes
something.
he'll just start shaking his butt and just slap you with his butt, and you'll die.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll just be like, all right.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
All right, so be it.
I guess I lost.
Guess we're gonna party some more.
Round 2, baby.
All right. So this next upcoming area is going to be known as Miracy. And Miracy has one of the biggest sequence breaks in the entire run, which is absolutely going to be one of my favorites. And one that, Utsu, you came up with your own sort of variation of the skip, right?
So after seeing some frustration with the normal skip, I started to look into variations of it that were probably easier to do, because before I really started, I didn't get to attack there. Okay, before I started to push my true ending restricted time down, I was doing a bit of 100% just because that category looked fun. You actually get to wear more than just this broken suit.
Someone came through here.
And so I was wondering, because we end up landing in a completely different spot in 100% than we used to. I was wondering if there's a way we could get to that same spot. And then with help from another runner and glitch hunter, Warped Chroma, we found a spot that would let you basically skip the entire intro of So first off, I'm gonna do a skip that skips you having to talk to an NPC, which the intended way to go through this area, oh that's unfortunate, is you want to climb up all of these ships above me and then go into a ship and then talk to some dude. I've never seen him before, and then you can ride this long rail that goes down there, but it's really slow. And then we had one that bypassed the rail and got you to basically where the rail ends. Actually, we can up on this, and I messed that up. Wait.
Nice. Okay.
This one's kind of
so
tricky.
Should be safe to grind now.
rail slip there, and then jumping on this ship is going to end up allowing us to catapult us into the next gravity bubble and to land on. Yeah, and then landing on this island allows us to just take this rail line to skip having to go up to Ames. And so that is Ames skip, and that is easily probably one of the largest, if not the largest sequence break, and allows us to get over to Sid immediately, because there's no eye goops in this starting area in Miracy. It's all going to be up here after we get past Sid in this introductory cutscene. So skipping past that section is a major sequence break for the run. So here's Rust Dragger, which up until recently gave people a lot of grief, especially in PvE attempts. But here, once again, just activating the teleporter and then teleporting out immediately is going to allow us to skip some dialogue. And we are going to get into sort of the main area of Miracy. So this green water here, you're going to notice a visual indicator pop up in the bottom center of the screen. Once that fills up, Utsu cannot touch the green liquid until it ends up disappearing. If Utsu ends up touching the green liquid when it's flashing red and green and white, then Utsu will take a death and be sent back to their most recently activated checkpoint. So here, coming through this area, it's going to be important that Utsu just moves through at a really specific pace. Nicely done. And as we head over to our first eye goop.
That's the most disgusting.
So here, activating this rail line is going to allow us to be able to skate up and progress through. And then repeatedly mashing skate is going to build us a bunch of speed, but it can be easy to just sort of accidentally fall down, as we just saw there. But no problem, we can just end up skating back up. We have plenty of time on this difficulty to be able to close the distance.
I was actually trying to fall off at just the right time where I could preserve my speed to go all the way around, but as I said, Ray's attack radius is gigantic until it isn't.
Yep. All right, great. And there is going to be the first eye goop of Miracy.
You may have noticed I very intentionally avoided this checkpoint that's right next to me, which You might think it'd be useful to have the checkpoint right next to me. But actually, it's better to not, because I can just walk over here
Sorry for the things.
and it'll send me all the way back over there so I don't actually have to move.
Yeah, and there's a perfect example as well of stand on the green liquid when it starts flashing red, right? And so it's not like a duration thing of touching green liquid to activate that state. It's literally just touching the green liquid once. So here, coming into this second eye goop, we are just traveling around on this upper area, trying to not touch the black liquid, because once again, that will end up causing us to cancel out our skate and require us to start dashing again to be able to get momentum.
I'm gonna do a rail slip here, and this is gonna be like probably the first time you see me doing a long string of bunny hops one after the other.
Yeah, this is some of my favorite movement in the game. So here, changing the orientation and then using a rail slip on the horizontal part. Grabbing the ledge there. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, cool. Gonna go for it again. I like this.
I'm going back for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this movement does look really, really awesome. So here it's important to start the rail slip at a specific time onto the rail itself in order to be able to go through. And so now with this momentum we built from the rail slip, if we end up jumping on the ground the moment we end up touching it, using that huge burst of speed, we can end up just spacing out perfectly to just avoid that radioactive green water as we go through.
Honestly, that probably, because I did that so well, that probably ended up being faster in the long run than if I just went.
Yeah, word. Those enemies can actually be really deceiving. They move incredibly fast after they aggro onto Ray, so nicely done just being aware of that. And then great triple jump there to be able to jump up to that black goo in order to be able to progress with the mission.
Those enemies, they're supposed to be like the weakest enemies. They're actually the hardest just because you're minding your own business and then they show up and just kind of whack you.
Yeah, and even though it's like a third-person cam, like at times, like here the camera's backed off a bit, but a lot of the time the camera can get just very close to Ray's back, so you can't actually see around you. And they're really quiet as well, right? So they are the silent killers.
They don't make any noise.
Yeah. Whereas like the bird ones make like loud chirping noises as they're like charging up their attack, and the laser guys shoot void ray beams, right?
Yeah. And they also have like a visual indicator, but those guys are just like,
yeah,
hi, I'm on you. You're dead now. You're welcome. Which is really frustrating in 100% because there's an area all the way over there that has them like everywhere.
Oh no. Okay, another rail slip here in the same spot. Build a bunch of speed.
This is probably like the biggest just like show off of just how awesome the gravity is in this game. It's like,
yes,
this game is unreal. Just a huge shout out to Heart Machine for everything they've done with this game.
I can't express enough. Like both as a casual game and as a speed game, there's a lot going on in both departments. Like the game is just so visually stunning, but also just the feel of playing around with the mechanics is great. And here Ray is going to party a little bit in order to build a bunch of speed, and then coming up here, doing a nice trick there to be able to get up.
Okay. The green groove is scary.
Yeah, so it can be very difficult to get on these rail lines because the activation is pretty tight at parts. But Utsu's just been making so many of these look very, very easy. Can't stress enough that a lot of these setups do require you to start at a very specific point in the rail. If you're too close to the end of the rail line as it's flattened out, then you're not going to be able to build enough speed. But if you're too far away and you end up going onto a slope, then you, once again, do not build to nearly as much speed. Yeah, boom. Okay, here's another rail line. I'm gonna go down through, fall into this hole, and grapple, and boom, gravity is swapped. Love it. So here, Utsu coming through this next part is going to be jumping up. Yeah, and so gravity there was still down a little bit. It didn't quite flip just based on the part of the black goop that Utsu was holding onto, but no problem. We can just end up reloading and getting back into the area again.
That is exactly why I grabbed this checkpoint. It's technically slower, but it makes me just so much happier to have it in my life.
Yeah, this jump here can be very particular, but nicely done. And then hitting this switch once again is just going to spawn rail line that allows us to progress on. And then 1 Birdo, 2 Birdo, and a rail line to be able to progress in. It's like, I just can't stress this enough. Like, each of these areas has their own programmed out, like, gravity field. And it's not like a perfect sphere or, like, globular thing. Like, there's a lot of different moving parts. And so, like, camera manipulations in order to fall in, like, alongside the edge of a gravity field has been used multiple times in the run. And it's just absolutely astonishing and incredible. Especially with this boss. This boss actually just recently got updated by Heart Machine itself, so in order to fix one of its gravity fields, which is awesome.
Yeah, so
thank you, Heart Machine.
he's got these little tendrils coming off of them. I believe what the issue was they all had their own gravity, and their gravities were just way stronger than
the one on its like shoulder pad or something like that.
The rest of him.
Yeah. But yeah, here, so coming into here is going to be the next boss, the Rust Dragger, which is my favorite boss name I think I've heard in a while. Rust Dragger. Like, just you at home watching, just say it out loud and just feel how good that the words are on your lips.
We call him Rusty.
Oh, Rusty. Good old Rusty.
Oh, Rustworth sometimes.
Rustworth. He does look like a little bit of a gentleman with that mask.
He's got like a little. He's got like a little vest on too. The best pass. It makes me think of like a bard in a D&D campaign wearing like his little leather vest that's like got the little thin straps.
Oh man.
He looks like he's ready to entertain. He wants you to have a good day.
Man, if I didn't name all my D&D characters after Nicolas Cage, then I would end up naming it Rustworth. That's such a great name. Good.
Yeah, so this is the final phase. This was the worst part about it was this was the phase that the issue was on. So he's gonna stab his sword down. I'm kind of. Yeah, he takes a while, but it's okay. We're actually gonna grind up the side of his sword. I love just the amazing, just like. They had ideas. Like, I imagine them sitting in a room together, and they're like, all right, what should the third phase be? Well, we climbed up his arm, and we've climbed up the sword already. What should we do? We should rail grind up the sword now.
Yes.
Oh,
no.
I didn't have a double jump.
That's okay. I believe we still start in the third phase, so we just have to wait for Rustworth here to end up slamming down the sword. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
So we just get to see more of this epic level design.
Yeah, I imagine like one of them has had like 2 hours of sleep and another one is like fully rested, and they say it, and the person with 2 hours of sleep is just like, sure, that sounds cool. I'm just gonna do that to be safe. Yeah, right here is the issue. You get here, and then you'd come up to this, and you would just fling into this. Like, literally, you could make it all the way back up to the island that I was on before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, all the way up there. And you just be like, oh, okay, that's my run. And you couldn't really do anything about it. Like, there was, like, a million superstitions. It was like, if you hold up your left pinky and turn the camera around, Rust Dragger won't fling you.
You dash here, count to 5 seconds.
Yeah, don't hold skate. Don't hold skate. Yeah. Like, I'll be the first to admit, I was also a Rust Dragger conspiracy theorist. Yeah. I had my own theory. It was wrong.
Yeah, once again, like, literally Heart Machine patched this out this week. Like, absolutely amazing. Like, we're 2 months into the game and it already plays so incredibly well, especially for consistency's sake. So major thanks to Heart Machine for continuing to work at this amazing game.
Yeah, they patched it, and like every old runner was like, oh good, I can come back now.
Yeah. Yes, here we're going to be coming into the second to last biome, basically, but it's going to be the last major biome, which is going to be the peak, which is going to have the Burning Hunter as the anomaly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be grabbing this as just a safety because I can't grab any checkpoints in the next area, and so
Yeah.
I don't want to just be insta-slapped by an enemy and then have to go all the way back.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a number of sequence breaks in this final area that can be incredibly taxing because once again, we don't have like a save system as we set up for another climb here onto the mountain. Oh, nicely done. Gets it first try again to be able to get on top of this mountain. And then we are going to go ahead and fall immediately into peak, pretty much just going into the area without having to go into the eye door itself.
So something we haven't really touched on is this game for your first jump has full hops. So like the longer you hold the jump button, the higher it is, and your second jump with a triple jump also has full hop potential. So that jump I just did so casually there to skip a door is actually really hard because you need 2 full hops, and a triple jump has to be done at a certain cadence. So the timing is just so specific for that.
Yeah. So that it is a pretty particular timing press, and the most important thing is that you end up trying to maximize your jump height by delaying the second jump, which has the full hop potential, as Utsu mentioned, as long as possible. But it's like there's no really good visual cue. We can only do it by touch because we just have to sort of intuit how long the dash animation action lock ends up going on for. Yeah. But it's important to mention that the second jump and the triple jump is the particular jump, and you can never accidentally triple jump too soon, but you can triple jump too late. For the second jump, excuse me. So, continuing on this area, it's just going to be very visually stunning. Unlike Mirror Sea, we don't get that sort of radioactive time counter for how long we have before we end up dying if we touch liquid. So the lava is lava, right? It's nothing else. But there's a nice little checkpoint for a bit of safety, I believe. And then using this rail line, doing a rail slip in order to be able to get on top of this mushroom, nicely done, is going to allow us to jump up and grapple to start the pylon sequence.
In fact, my first playthrough, I thought this was going to be some cool, like, combination of every single mechanic I've seen so far. So I just happily jumped into the lava.
Yeah.
I was like, here I go. Oh. That's,
yeah, that got me too.
That kills me. Yeah. I actually grabbed that checkpoint up there so that I could, go right back up to it.
Right.
Because there's actually no way back up there without it. Well, actually, now that we use the red rail, there is, but still. Anyways, I'm going to be doing the first rail slip triple jump here. And it's like one of the first times we see it used.
Yep, so rail slipping once again and then actually jumping out of it. The other ones we actually ended up not necessarily needing to jump out of it, but nailing that and getting that first try is really, really good. Nicely done. Ooh. Okay, and then coming through here, we have to just make sure that we don't fall down and end up hitting the lava itself, as once again, it is a one-hit kill. And then continuing on through, we're going to end up climbing these mushrooms in order to be able to pretty much sequence break into the next eye goop area. Because, once again, each place has its own unique sort of gravity field and setup. So using the mushroom to jump over to this hill and then jumping up over here. And we are going to progress through to higher and higher, pretty much, points in the level. Yeah, exactly. So up next, starting this pylon sequence is going to allow us to continue progressing through, and there is the next eye goop. Nicely done.
not looking forward to taking that thing down.
Excellent. Nice. And nice. Okay. So far, so good. Yeah. Yeah, it can't be stressed enough that, like, each biome, like, as we progress through the game, gets larger and larger. So doing a major sequence break like that saved a metric bunch ton of time. Nicely done.
Here I'm actually going to save quit to get back down to the checkpoint that I had down there. I also at some point somehow managed to make my mic quieter. I didn't notice that.
It's all good. All good.
So here I'm going to be doing another, ideally, rail slip triple jump, but I don't need it to be a triple jump. And
Nice. Oh, so close.
I was really hoping time slip would cooldown. Okay, I'll just go the safer way. So I don't got that guy anymore.
Yeah, that was incredibly close. So using a time slip there allows us basically to just kind of get to the pylon a little bit quicker, and that was very, very close.
There we go. And that was the last eye goop. Now we're gonna get to fight Burning Hunter, which I think Burning Hunter is one of the most visually stunning like bosses to be on top of. Like, it's honestly probably the only boss that, like, as I was fighting it, I really had a like, oh my gosh, I'm on top of this thing moment. Like, all the others didn't really go in my head, but this one was just really like, oh, I'm on this thing.
Maybe I can use these smokestacks to
Yeah, for sure. So basically riding up these rail lines and then skating off is going to be the intended progression, and we're going to be doing that for each of the phases. So here, like on top of the wing, as Utsu mentioned, you can just like sort of see the entire area just all around you. Like, very, very visually stunning.
Also, I hate to say it, but despite being the last boss, it's also kind of the easiest, in my opinion.
Yeah. So something else to mention, we actually haven't mentioned this yet, but between each phase of the boss, the white pieces, which allows us to skate and dash to go faster, right? If we touch any of the black goop, we end up going slower, but the amount of walkable terrain that we want to skate on gets smaller and smaller between each phase. So it makes the platforming a little bit more difficult and easy to end up losing seconds, right? If we land in the black goop, we lose the potential of seconds. But here especially, right, if we touch the red goop, we end up taking a death and have to end up restarting the phase over again. Okay, but upcoming here is going to be the third and final phase of this boss, but it is not going to be the final boss of the run because we are running True Ending, which ends up adding in a small sort of adaptation to Crater, which is the starting biome, as well as a surprise final boss based on a morality decision that you make at the very end of the run. Okay, so here is a big jump here. It's going to allow us to close the distance with a time slip and a grapple. Utsu's just being very careful to not end up touching any of the red parts of the tail itself. And you'll notice we're not doing many like triple jumps just because, once again, it's very easy to accidentally just overshoot it. And there we go. There was Burning Hunter. Nicely done.
So, kind of give a quick summary of what's happened up till now. If you've been playing the game like intended, you'd realize that like something's going on. There's some people in here that are caught in a time loop because of just how time is in this area, and so like as you're collecting like logs from your friends, you realize that like, oh wait a second, maybe the starseed's not that great of a thing. So we're gonna get presented with a choice. We're gonna be able to either destroy the starseed, or we're going to be able to activate the starseed and reverse time.
No! Critical systems. I'll get you back.
The way to get true ending is you select to destroy the starseed.
Yeah, so Ray, the decision really at the end is like activate the starseed to try and save their planet. Or this character Echo, who we've been interacting with at the end of each biome, is given sort of asking us to not repeat the process. Because activating the starseed just causes us to continue on the infinite loop, quintessentially.
As in the words of Echo, the starseed doesn't reverse time, it just repeats it.
Yeah, boom.
Over and over, their world is torn apart. And you actually probably haven't noticed it, but the whole time, our planet has been in the background, just slowly being torn apart. Which is such a good visual aspect.
Yeah, it's so good.
Also, I love that the red pillars of the eye doors are all just shining there, because you haven't actually opened any of them.
This is it.
Yeah, that is actually really funny.
It also looks kind of cool. I kind of wish that, like, even if you did destroy them, they were still up. Yeah, so this here's going to show exactly like how the starseed kind of works. So it's reversing time, but not quite. Just puts it back to square one and goes back through the motions over and over and over again.
This can't be.
Here, this is all just like one big like cutscene, and so your Echo's gonna show up and be like, I told you so.
Yeah. I was so mesmerized just watching this. This part is just so incredible in the game. The entire end of the game is just so good.
My jaw was basically agape for the whole ending of this game. Like, I almost wish that like I could listen to the dialogue here, just because
don't you get it?
It's just so good. The voice acting, just everything about this game is just fantastic. I love it so much.
We've always been.
The Heart Machine really hit their stride with this game. It's incredible. But here we go, destroying the Starseed in order to be able to get a true ending.
Why this time?
I did destroy for my ending, and I'm so happy I did.
Yeah, same here.
I was kind of thinking activate as a joke, but I was like, no, I have to see what happens if I blow it up.
Yeah.
And I was really thrown for a loop for like what it was when I did destroy.
For once, I can't see past this moment.
So we have broken the cycle effectively. But now there's still one more loose end to tie up.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the major plot point of the game, right?
Yeah.
There's no saving them. All I did was prolong their suffering. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So all of those massive anomalies
Were other Rays.
Yep.
Every time Ray activated the Star Seed, she became an anomaly. So here, because Ray has turned into a remnant, we actually get to play as Echo now.
Pain is gone.
Because Echo is another half of Ray.
Feel like I can breathe again.
Yeah, it's the same movement tech, but I believe Echo is able to jump a little bit higher. Is that correct?
Echo is
Utsu?
floatier, so we do a different scale. We come over here. We get up here. Oh,
Yeah, gravity can get a little weird. Nice, okay.
yeah, as you can see, it gets really just like. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah. And that is Ray in the distance, and she is like filled with like shards of the Star Seed.
Yeah, and so here what we're doing is we're going to travel a certain distance and then end up intentionally falling down and taking a death. And this is a nice little sequence break to just get into the fight faster.
Yeah, so now we need to fight Ray. We need to rescue Ray from what she has become. A monster overcome with grief is lashing out violently. Because Ray still has some cognitive ability left, because she's the first. This is the first remnant that actually speaks to us, and she says stuff like "die" and stuff like that. But still,
Better be right about this, Sid.
and
Yeah, so something else to mention about this boss is, as you notice, when we ended up getting on top of Ray, the skin actually turns red. It's the only boss in the game where you just can't touch its skin at any point. We have to stay on the armored plating.
basically always phase 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess now is the time where I'll say that
I don't know why you helped me.
I saw this
you're still in
marathon
there.
being posted on Twitter by my friend Amarilyn. He posted that he submitted for it, and saw us supporting the Trevor Project. I'm a big fan of the Trevor Project. I saw those. It was in memory of the only kid, and I personally didn't know them, but a little bit before this game came out, I've had a couple friend groups throughout my life. I've had like one from when I was like in 6th or 7th grade. It didn't last very long, but I kept one friend from it. And close to this game coming out,
We're
they
still here.
they had
And we're not alone.
taken their life, and it hit me really, really hard. And then this ending came out, and honestly, these lines right here really helped me get through that.
Get ready on time.
We can't go back and change the past. We have to pick up the pieces and fix what's left. The truth is a heavy burden, but we can carry it together.
With that said, so that was Solar Ash. Solar Ash has a very special place in my heart. It means a whole lot to me, and so I felt it only right to submit it to this marathon. Guess I'll go and do my shoutouts now. You can find me on Twitter at UtsuMade, or on Twitch
Ray?
at UtsuWoo.
Ray,
Covert.
Ray,
Big shouts to Covert. Thank you so much for being able to do this on such short notice, and also just so early in the
Yeah,
morning.
thank you. I'm so
you've
glad I was able
managed
to make
end
it.
The cycle.
You did an amazing job, Utsu.
Time
Congratulations.
moves on. The Ultra Void is stable.
Big shouts to
There's
Heart
so
Machine
much
for
work
making
to
this
be
just
done.
phenomenal game. Just
So much
absolutely
to rebuild.
incredible game. gonna shout out some people from the Solar Ash community. Shouts to all of them, but shouts to Bladen, Brian Otto, Warp Chroma, Azuma, Nico with the C, Wiggles, Bagel, and so many other people. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. Just shouts to all of them. They've been all just so helpful and cool and creative and
Not without
just
potential.
It's been such a great community. I've absolutely loved being in the Solar Ash community.
Place
Um,
to start something.
wait,
new.
what the? Who's this? Mr. Krabs? What's Mr. Krabs doing in here? What?
Are you all right?
Well,
Ray?
anyway, I guess that's it.
I will be.
Thank you everyone for watching The Run.